Hi, I'm Shane.
And I'm Miranda. We're Chicky. Join us as we undertake our biggest road trip to date, 5 months around Australia in a 4-wheel drive.
After a year of closed borders due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we were finally able to travel from New Zealand to our closest neighbour, my home country of Australia.
Each episode will take you to a different region in this diverse continent and get up close to its unique wildlife, camping in the outback and Aussie bush.
If you ever wanted to explore Australia, this series is for you. Coming up in our final episode of the series, we spend time with Gerry and Alysa on Eaglerise Farm, learning about Agro Ecology and ethical farming in the perfect rural setting.
We head to the Highlands along the Great Dividing Range, exploring limestone cave systems at Yarrangobilly.
Climbing up into the high country, we stay in Jindabyne, gaining prime access to summit Australia's highest mountain, Mount Kosciuszko.
We spend some time in Canberra, the capital city of Australia, located within the Australian Capital Territory, exploring its highlights with friends.
We return to the coast and explore its picturesque beaches with a surprise opportunity to experience the Indigenous culture.
Heading up the New South Wales South Coast, we explore the rugged beaches and subtropical rainforests of the region.
And finally, we arrive to our final destination, my home region of the Central Coast, New South Wales. We celebrate an early Christmas with family and explore this beautiful area in the conclusion of our 5+ months in a 4-wheel drive around Australia series.
Join us on Global Travel Stories. In our previous episode, we explored Victoria and crossed into New South Wales to stay with our friends Gerry and Alysa at Eaglerise Farm.
So Gerry, why don't you tell us a little bit about Eaglerise Farm?
I bought the farm in 2000. It was a bare paddock. It didn't have any fence posts on it. It had nothing. And so I had to design it using organic principles, permaculture principles, Agro Ecology type principles, and slowly implement that design. It's been a great challenge. It's been good fun.
And what is it about Eaglerise that is so unique?
It's a pretty challenging country, and you'll see it as we drive around. There's a lot of rock, very shallow topsoil, and I'm just designing a system that's going to be really resilient. I'm concentrating on increasing organic matter, and I'm concentrating on diversifying everything possible. We've got some vulnerable bird species on the farm. I'll show you later on. The neighbour's farm used to be part of the same farm, and you can see there's no trees there. We've planted 20,000 trees.
Annie?
And you may not know this, but she likes cats.
Hello, Annie.
And this is Hermie, and he's the big Bill.
Bush pea, is it?
Well, it's a legume, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an environmental word, but you can see it's got seeds in it.
Yeah.
They're the size of match heads, high protein.
Yep.
And so I put them in here. I was supposed to keep it small, but I haven't.
Yeah.
These will split when they dry out.
Yep.
And spread the seeds all over the place for the chickens.
Oh.
And then we put the sheep and cattle through, and they sort of crown lift it a bit.
So they chop it from the ground, basically?
Yeah, as far as they can reach. So
Yep.
if we leave them in long enough, they just pull that off. This is what I call our thinking stump, and it's one of the biggest things that I've learnt since I've been on the farm. And I used to come up here, and it was just this old little stump, but you can see it's pretty steep. And I used to think, I should grab that, chuck it in the back of the ute, and use it to cook dinner, you know. But I was too bloody lazy because I didn't have the fence and all that sort of stuff, and I just didn't do it. Didn't get around to it for years. And I came up here one day, and sitting on the tip of it was a superb fairy wren. And I immediately thought to myself, you arrogant bastard. I just, it hit me how I'd been thinking that I was the boss and I was in control. So that superb fairy wren came from 20-30 metres behind us, and it was extending the superb fairy wren's range out here. It was a vital part of the habitat for the superb fairy wren, and I thought I was just going to cut it down. And so when it finally fell over, I put a steel post there and I wired it up. So I tell everyone the story when I come up, because there are times in life when you have a realisation of what really matters.
Gerry took us to the most meaningful place on his farm. Upon the highest hill, surrounded by breathtaking views, sits a memorial cairn which holds the ashes of his son Mitch. I met Gerry and Mitch during a trip to South America in 2014. We all instantly bonded and created some amazing memories together. I last saw Mitch in Nicaragua a few months later, where we made plans to meet the following year in Canada, where he had just moved and I was planning to move myself. Mitch passed away in an unfortunate tobogganing accident in February 2015 at the age of 22. We had a beer up there with Mitch and traded stories before making our way back down.
Down in amongst these trees, I was building a fence coming up in there. I can't drive to it to show you. And it was another realisation. It was something I'd already had thought about, but it just hit me. The fence was so bloody steep that I stopped for a break, you know, and it's right down. You can see how tight that gully is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was just having a breather, and I looked across the gully, which wasn't far. It was probably only 30 metres. Yeah. It was so steep, and I saw an echidna. We see him occasionally, you know. We always stop and look at him. And he was rummaging around a fallen log, getting a feed of ants. And we always stop and wonder at it because it's just marvellous to see things like that.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, do I own that echidna? Obviously, you don't own an echidna. And then I said, well, if I don't own the echidna, do I own the ants? No, I don't own the ants. Well, if I don't own the echidna and if I don't own the ants, do I own the log, this rotten log that the ants are living in? We don't own anything.
Mm.
So in Australia, we have, in this part of Australia, we have what's called the Torrens title, which is lines on a map, and someone says you own what's inside that line, and it's just rubbish.
Of course.
It just hits me. And so the Aboriginal people didn't have that concept of ownership.
No.
They were owned by the land rather than they owned the land. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things that we talked about before, and it just hit me. You obviously don't own the echidna, and it just the logical steps is you don't own anything.
Oh.
And so we just from that, I thought more about it. And what we have here is an ecosystem, and all I am is a higher order predator in that ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And so my actions have consequences to the other elements in that ecosystem. And when you start interacting with your land in that way, you take the economics out of it.
Yep.
You just look at the ecosystem.
Yep.
And it just creates a completely different view of how you should be living.
You're conscious about what's going on around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, human beings create this fictitious. It's one of our abilities that makes us human is to be able to imagine things, right? But we create this fictitious reality of ownership, as you were just saying there, to separate us from the animals. But in all reality, we are one of the animals. We are part of that ecosystem. And going back maybe only a few thousand years ago, pre-civilization, we had always been a part of that ecosystem and always saw ourselves as part of that ecosystem. And it's kind of funny that people somehow have gotten to the point where they think that they are something completely separate to all of that.
Gerry's love for his animals, the environment, and the natural ecosystem he's trying to reintroduce to Eaglerise Farm is completely inspiring. Our time with him and Alysa was a valuable part of our journey around the country.
An amazing few days staying at Eaglerise Farm with Alysa and Gerry. They were such amazing hosts, really, and I know they'll be watching, so thank you so much guys for such an awesome time. Great chatting, and also we actually had the time to relax, so that was nice.
It's always important. Now we're heading to my friend Dan's house and his wife Mel, and we're going to stay there tonight and then head out tomorrow towards Jindabyne and do some activities along the way. So it'd be cool to catch up and also to see some other parts of this beautiful state, New South Wales.
Driving in Kosciuszko National Park, which is part of the Snowy Mountains in New South Wales. We're going to stop by at Yarrangobilly Caves and hopefully get in on a cave tour. And afterwards we'll be heading to Jindabyne, where we'll be spending a few nights with Shane's friend Megan.
Arriving to Yarrangobilly Caves, we jumped on the next available tour, which took us to Jindabyne Cave.
The entrance was spotted by Leo Hode in 1910 from a small gap in the rock face about the size of a fist, as it was exuding warmer air on a cold morning. The larger entrance we see today was man-made from this location, allowing access to a wondrous cave that was hidden away from the world.
It's estimated to be 2 million years old, making it one of the oldest caves at Yarrangobilly. At only 73 metres long, it is still regarded as one of the most beautiful caves in the country due to its impressive structures.
So this is shore right here, looks kind of like bacon, and then down there this pit is 10 metres deep.
So we just did a tour of Jindabyne Cave, which is in the Yarrangobilly Caves system here in Mount Kosciuszko or Kosciuszko National Park. It was only a small tour, it was only a small cave, but this cave itself was actually the oldest cave in the region, and they actually said on the tour that the higher the cave system is, the older the cave generally is because of the way that the mountains have been pushed up. Quite interesting as well the way that they were talking about how what happens on top of the soil here and top of the earth affects what happens below in the caves, and they're doing a lot of studies right now on like the impacts of the environment and whatnot to the cave systems. Now we're going to explore the Glory Arch at the moment, and the actual Glory Cave system is closed off at the moment due to some sort of construction work going on, but you can see the arch itself, and the arch is supposed to be really beautiful. This is the Glory Hole Caves. So we've reached the entrances of the Glory Hole Caves, greeted by all these welcome swallows. It's spectacular though. This is really, really beautiful. Definitely worth checking out, even if the cave system itself is closed.
The Glory Hole was first discovered in 1834 when a stockman, John Bowman, found some cattle sheltering in the Glory Arch. He proceeded to explore the cave with a bark torch.
The Glory Hole caves include the South Glory Cave, which is 470 metres in length, and the North Glory Cave, which is 358 metres in length. Guided tours of the caves began in the 1950s and are still running today.
Upon leaving the caves, we spotted many Cunningham spiny-tailed skinks and crimson rosellas. A storm was coming in, so it was perfect timing to move into the highlands.
Cheeky, what have we got behind us here?
We've got wild Brumbies.
And what are wild Brumbies?
Wild Australian horses.
There you go. They're not native though.
They're really beautiful though. There's so many.
Yeah, the Kosciuszko National Park is really renowned for wild horses. The wild horses of Australia, also known as Brumbies, are the descendants of escaped or lost horses dating back in some cases to those belonging to early European settlers. There is a population of over 400,000 in Australia, making them the largest population of wild horses in the world. So we're here in Thredbo, and we're about to climb up Australia's highest mountain, Mount Kosciuszko, 2,228 metres. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's, you know, a little bit of a walk for a day. We were actually going to walk from the very bottom down here in Thredbo to the top, but there is a storm forecast for the afternoon. I know it doesn't look like there is, but there was a big one yesterday afternoon, and the same thing's supposed to hit later on. So we're going to try to do this as quickly as possible. We're going to get up to a place called the Eagle's Nest, and then from there, hike up to the top and stand on the top of Australia's tallest mountain. guessing that that is the peak right up there. When most people think of Australia, they don't actually think of snow and skiing. But even up until 3 years ago, Miranda didn't even realise that it snowed here in Australia. Kosciuszko National Park, it's full of great ski fields. It's actually a mecca in Australia for some great skiing and snowboarding. And even a week ago, we had a dump of snow up here, which is what we're actually trudging on right now. It's the second day of summer. It's kind of crazy. Alright, we're making our way up the peak now. Only 130 meters of elevation to go, so we should get up there within the next 40 minutes or so. Starting to get steep and slippy. So all this snow is starting to melt off and it's becoming slushy, and then overnight when it freezes it turns into this sort of icy slush, which is really good when you need to climb up it. Not quite what we were expecting. Kind of reminds me of the tramway hike up in Jasper. Keep an eye out for little marmots.
As we neared the summit, we found ourselves surrounded by countless crows.
Hey Miranda, do you know what you call a gathering of crows? Ah! Stop it. There are a lot of crows.
Top of Mount Kosciuszko, 2,228 meters tall in elevation, and it happens to be Australia's highest peak. Just leaving Jindabyne now. A big thank you to Megan, Jade and Lauren for letting us stay with them. It was so nice and they were amazing hosts, so we really appreciated that. Now we're on our way to Canberra in the ACT, which is the capital of Australia. And first stop is the National Arboretum for the day, and then we're heading to our campground later on.
So we have crossed into the ACT. We're here in Canberra at the National Arboretum, and the Arboretum itself houses or is home to a massive collection of different plant species, trees and forests from around the world. So we're going to learn a little bit more about the Arboretum here in Canberra. Opened in 2013, the National Arboretum in Canberra is a 250 hectare site with over 44,000 rare and endangered trees, making it a place of conservation, scientific research, education and recreation. After, we met up with some friends for some amazing cuisine. We're about to enter into the farmers markets, which takes place every Saturday. We're also as well going to do some sightseeing in town, and we're also going to have a picnic lunch with our friends Shannon and her partner Chris, so pretty action-packed day. That's where we are. So we got Shannon and Chris here. We've set up a picnic. Shannon, where are we?
We're at Narra Peace Park.
In Canberra.
In Canberra.
There we go, look at that spread. Everything here. Stuff from the markets and also from Eaglerise Farms. Thank you to Gerry and Alysa. So we're here in the centre of Canberra at the old Parliament House, and we're about to get on the Neuron scooters, which we introduced in Darwin. It's going to be a fun way to zip around town. So we're at the Australian War Memorial, and the museum unfortunately has closed, but they are doing a last post ceremony that they do at the end of each day to commemorate a soldier, and they tell the story of his life. So we're going to check out that ceremony.
After paying respects to Shane's fallen relatives, we explored the tomb of the unknown soldier, which represents all those lost in service whose bodies or identities could not be retrieved. A service was held for a soldier with friends and family members present to honor him.
Pretty cool, right? So we're here at a place called Green Patch, which is where we're camping tonight, and it's in Booderee National Park on the Jervis Peninsula area. This is Jervis Bay right here, and on our way we did stop at Hyams Beach, which has the reputation of having the whitest sand in Australia. We're in the same bay, so the sand here is equally as white in the drier sections behind me here. And the Cape Jervis area, or the Jervis Peninsula, is actually part of the Australian Capital Territory, the ACT. And the funny thing is, we actually left the ACT this morning from Canberra, travelled 2.5 hours from Canberra to where we are here on the coast, and we've come back into the ACT through New South Wales. It's kind of confusing, but the reason why they did that is because they needed a port, and obviously being the closest area with coastline, they've sort of taken up this peninsula here, and there is actually a naval port nearby as well to serve the Australian Capital Territory. So, interesting thing. Booderee National Park, we're going to explore a little bit more tomorrow, and we'll go down to a place where I used to sort of vacation quite often as a child, down near the Sussex Inlet. So we'll check that out tomorrow, but today just enjoy this beautiful beach and yeah, relax.
That night at our campground, an Aboriginal youth group was hosting a cultural camp to help teenage boys get in touch with and learn about their culture. They were nice enough to invite us in to watch and learn the stories behind the traditional dances, even participate in a few.
So we're just doing a little exploring down here on the peninsula near Jervis Bay, to a place where I used to come every year as a child with my family on holiday, which is pretty cool. We just stopped down there. Unfortunately, they couldn't let us walk through the grounds because of the COVID situation. They have to have everyone registered online. But we did get a quick peek at what it looks like, and nothing has changed in the last 25 years or so since I've been down here, which is a good and bad thing, you know. Maybe a fresh coat of paint would have been nice, but aside from that, it's very nostalgic. And we're going to go down to Burrawera Beach, which is where we used to go a lot as a kid, so we'll go check that out. It's a really beautiful beach, and we'll even walk down to the inlet, the channel where the Sussex Inlet meets the ocean, which is a pretty beautiful spot actually. We're down at Huskisson at the Maritime Museum. There used to be an Aboriginal Arts Centre here, but apparently the guy died last year, unfortunately, or the year before. They were just saying, and I remember coming down here as a kid and we'd buy boomerangs and they'd inscribe your name in it, which was really cool. I was kind of looking forward to checking that out. Yeah, unfortunately it's no longer around. We're going to go for a nice little walk anyway down here on the waterfront. It's kind of cool. So we're in the historic country town of Berry that goes back to the mid-1800s. It's a beautiful little sort of tourist stop on the south coast of New South Wales.
Great spot to stop off, and lots of little boutique stores set in this beautiful old sort of heritage city. Town, I should say. Gonna check it out. This is Miranda's addiction on this trip. Chocolates.
With the caramelized Australian macadamias.
That's great. So she realised that the chocolates weren't enough and she raced off to the donut van. This is Miranda's obsession right now. Before we go out into the ferocious wind, where are we?
We're at Kiama Blowholes.
All right, let's go see some blowing holes down there. The hole wasn't blowy enough, was it?
You gotta say it like that.
Yeah, I think it's a tidal thing, and we didn't really come at the high tide, unfortunately, but it looked like it was about to. We sat around for a while, waiting, and then nothing, but it's still pretty cool, and it looks like a lot of this rock's volcanic as well, which is kind of different. All right, let's head up to Shoal Harbour for the night.
Sounds good to me.
In the distance is Kiama.
Yeah.
This is Vanessa, by the way.
Hi guys.
Vanessa is our guide of the Shoal Harbour region. I know. Alrighty, so I'm going to ask our tour guide. Where are we, tour guide? Where are we, tour guide?
We're at Bushrangers Bay.
Bushrangers Bay.
Yeah.
This is where they'll hold you up.
Yeah, look out. Ed Kelly's here.
So we're here at the Minnamurra Rainforest just outside of Jamberoo down on the New South Wales South Coast, and we're going to do the Rainforest Walk. Our original plans were to do the Minnamurra Falls Walk, but unfortunately that's closed at the moment. I assume probably a landslide from all of these heavy rains that we've had. Already a stunning walk, as you can see, beautiful bridges and stuff. And we've just spotted ourselves our first lyrebird, which is the emblem of the New South Wales National Park, which is pretty cool. An incredible little rainforest. Did you ladies know that Minnamurra is the Aboriginal word for plenty of fish?
I did, because I had the same sign as you.
Hey, I knew all this stuff beforehand.
Located in Budaroo National Park, the Minnamurra Rainforest is a rare remnant of subtropical and warm temperate rainforests, which is representative of the once extensive rainforests of the Illawarra region.
Minnamurra is home to over 70 different species of animals, including a variety of birds such as the normally elusive lyrebird.
Lyrebirds are ground-dwelling birds most well known for their impressive ability to mimic sounds. They often mimic other birds, but also have been known to mimic music, words, car alarms, and even chainsaws.
So the waterfall trail itself was actually open. However, we got up to the very top and there was some construction going on there, and the actual lookout platform itself was closed off. Got a little bit of a glimpse of the waterfall from where the sign basically told us to stop, but unfortunately you can't take in all of it at this stage. We're kind of sort of led up here by some lyrebirds that we could see scrounging around, and we sort of made our way up, and then they were sort of doing a bit of a mating ritual or dance or something, and you can hear all the sounds that the lyrebirds can imitate, which is amazing. You know, this is what they're renowned for. They have this vocal reproduction where they can just reproduce pretty much any sound they hear in the forest, even mechanical sounds. I've heard them sort of sound like police and ambulance sirens before. It's kind of crazy. We heard one doing a kookaburra, which is really cool. So that was Minnamurra Rainforest. Pretty awesome. We're gonna make our way back up the coast, and today is actually the last day of our journey. We'll be heading back up to the Central Coast, which is where my father lives. We have a week of chilling around the coast, and we might have a few little adventures there on the coast that we can show you as well. So, may as well christen this GoPro a little bit of Christmas. Yay! Here is Miranda setting up the Christmas tree.
Exciting.
It is exciting. Merry Christmas, everyone. Hello.
Hey!
This is
Merry Christmas.
The new GoPro.
Your new GoPro, eh?
Hey.
Hey, Lassie.
Get the head game on.
Get right in there.
As we were set to leave the week before Christmas, we had 2 early family Christmases, which was our first spent with family in years. In Australia, we celebrate Christmas in the summertime, being located in the Southern Hemisphere. One of our traditions is the Christmas Cracker, a game of tug-of-war with a cardboard cracker known as a bonbon, where the winner gets a crown and has to read a lame joke, known colloquially as a dad joke, usually with a Christmas theme.
Ah, here we go.
What do you get if you cross a jingle bell with a skunk?
What?
A jingle smell.
Yes!
Oh my God!
You're actually good at these.
Did you write these? After lunch, we exchanged gifts. The following day, we had our second Christmas lunch at Shane's brother Dean's house.
There was these dudes that were
Give him a little.
they were drunk. They were feeling like, oh, good fuck.
Him in the eye.
He feeds it and full eats it.
All right, little lassie bear, what did you get? Oh, look at this. This is Nanny Reed got you this. Nanny Reed over here. So after about a week of inactivity, about to go for a walk. Going for a walk. No, we actually need to really go for a walk because we've eaten a lot of food in the last few days, Christmas dinners and whatnot. We're actually going to walk over the Rip Bridge into a place called Booker Bay. We'll get some great sights of the Brisbane waters area and just enjoy the scenery. It was nice, beautiful day. Bridge right now, named for its dangerous undertows, as you can see down there. And this whole area here is known as the Brisbane Water region. And that's where we've come from, just behind St. Hubert's Island over there, Daly's Point. We met up with my dad Gary and stepmother Kathy along with their fluffy daughter Sakari at Booker Bay. We enjoyed the fresh salty air while Sakari chased the soldier crabs into their holes. Alright, where are we now, Gaz?
We're at Booker Bay.
Booker Bay.
Looking across the pretty sea. Hardy's Bay.
Hardy's Bay down there. Pretty beach. So we're here at Toowoomba Bay on the Central Coast. We're about to go for a little bit of a snorkel and a swim. It's a really warm day, pushing up to about 30 degrees right now, and may as well enjoy the beautiful beaches that we have here on the New South Wales Central Coast.
The Central Coast is well known for its pristine sandy beaches, and Toowoomba Bay Beach is considered one of the best in the region.
Alrighty. It's not too cold. Not too warm either. Alright, I think it's time to go in. Woo. Woo. The beach is popular for swimming, snorkeling and fishing. With rocky reefs at both ends and a gentle surf, the beach is protected from winds and strong currents.
Exploring the rocky pools and seagrasses, we encountered many schools of fish. Some of the species we encountered included brim, whiting, luteric, and even a small leather jacket. Definitely one of the best snorkeling spots in the whole region.
So, we are heading back to New Zealand in 2 days' time, and we have to get ourselves a PCR COVID test to prove that we don't have COVID before going back into the country. Now, there is a bit of an outbreak going on right now in New South Wales. They actually have the record amount of COVID cases they've had since the start of the pandemic. We're here in Wyong lining up for what looks like maybe a couple of hours to get our COVID test, to get something jabbed up our nose, essentially. So, this is our half day.
How you going, Jiggy? Having a stretch?
Just chilling.
Just chilling. Look at that. We're moving up in the world. Oh, God. All right. We are at the Bavarian here in Westfields. I got myself my Hefeweizen, Francis Connor, and Dad's got himself a Paulaner there, and he's taken off, like always. The Schweinhaxen, the Bratwurst, Schnitzel, Schweinbraten. We've got ourselves sauerkraut. Chicky's got ourselves the
vegan schnitzel,
also known in Australia as a...
It's kind of like a bubble and scoop.
No, it's known as a schnitty.
Our initial plan to visit Australia was to meet our niece Alaska not long after she was born and undertake a bit of an adventure. With borders closing behind us in New Zealand and state borders locking us away from family, our journey became an undertaking of epic proportions.
Our time in the island continent of Australia has been invaluable. We not only learned a lot about its wondrous places, unique wildlife, history and culture, but we also learned a lot about ourselves.
The long days driving, the months of camping and whatever conditions are thrown at us, from scorching heat to gale force winds, from tropical reefs to high mountain tops. Would we do it all again? In a heartbeat. Exploration and adventure is what we live for. It enriches the human spirit and it gives us a lust for life. And we won't be stopping anytime soon. At Global Travel Stories, we want to hear what you'd like to see more of. Please leave a comment below and remember to like and subscribe for our big adventures coming soon. Where are we, Miranda?